There's a ground ball and a high off the second. Damien Easley has the big man. One up and one down. One try and gets it done. He's got a chance. Waiting on deck. Originated probably in the military dugout, but of course the early 1900s, the ballparks gave up on the benches because they got in the way of the fans, and they dug out a spot where the players could sit, and that's why we have dugouts.
Leading off the bottom of the seventh inning for the Tigers, the third baseman, Greg Hoggett.
Philadelphia Phillies family, we'd like to wish you a happy retirement, congratulate you on a fantastic career as the voice of the Detroit Tigers. And I was a National League guy my whole career, never got to hear you much, but I surely have heard so many wonderful things about you, and I'm sure all the people in the Detroit area are thankful for having you as the voice of their team. Wish you a wonderful retirement, a healthy life, and all the good things that the Lord has to offer from the Philadelphia Phillies.
Ladies and gentlemen, we salute the Tigers Hall of Famer, Ernie Harwell.
example of an individual and be a part of a team. Okay, the second part, you know this too, Ernie, that many people go to the games to study the quantitative method of optimal decision making under conditions of uncertainty. You know that. And what I mean by that, all decisions are made by the managers, coaches, and everybody. A decision made under conditions of uncertainty. They don't know what's going to happen. And this is the most unique thing in the world. You've been a part of it, you know it, you love it. I love you, and I see it, family. Congratulations on your retirement. Keep going. We need you baseball.
Hi, Ernie. We're 50 years old now, and I still want to one of the all-time greats as a broadcaster and a person. Congratulations, Ernie, on your career and what happens in time.
This is an open letter to Ernie Harwell. Dear Ernie, 53 years ago I followed you into Brooklyn. 20 years ago I followed you into the Hall of Fame. And our relationship has only been perfect. Baseball is so much richer for having you all these years and poorer for losing you. Sincerely yours, with love and affection, Vince Stubbs.
Well, hi there, Mr. Harwell. I want to congratulate you and thank you for a wonderful Major League Baseball career that, of course, is ending this season with the Detroit Tigers. All those youngsters who got involved in broadcasting in some way, shape, or form owe you a debt of gratitude that will never, ever be able to repay. Your wit, your humor, your sense of style, and your wonderful sense of Major League Baseball history is something that we hope to carry on into the next century. And hopefully that'll be a small part of your very great legacy of baseball broadcasting in Detroit with the Tigers organization. From one Georgia man to another, I wish you the best, a wonderful and happy retirement. We hope to see you at Wrigley Field here in Chicago in the not-too-distant future. Good luck, God bless, and again, thanks for everything.
Any man that has a passion and love for what he's doing, like Ernie has in the world of broadcasting, it is so unique and so special. I love your enthusiasm, your excitement, your energy, and most of all, I love the fact that you're like a little kid when you're talking about the game you love, the game of baseball. I wish you nothing but the best, health, happiness in your retirement. Ernie, I simply know this. Having lived in Detroit for 15 years, baseball will not be the same without the voice of Ernie Harwell. So put it in my telling, you are all world's voice, baby, and you are awesome, baby, when I count the last. You are super, scintillating, sensational. The best, they don't of any better than Ernie Harwell.
Ernie, I don't know quite what to say, except you've always been one of my favorite guys, and not only are you in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but you're a Hall of Fame person as well. And I want to wish you all the best, and I really can't think of baseball without Ernie Harwell, so I know we're going to see a lot of you in the future, so all the best, Ernie. Hi, Ernie.
And a big thank you for all your years bringing to the fans, your fans, and our fans of baseball, your voice, relaying what we do on the field as players, recounting everything that we do and making it sound so good. Just a big thank you to you and good luck.
Talk about Ernie Harwell. Probably one of the great announcers that ever did baseball. And not only a great announcer, but Ernie Harwell was a great friend of all baseball people. And he will be dearly missed for sure. Ernie enjoyed 55 years announcing
Joe Torre's next. Remember?
I've always admired our professional skill and the love and respect for the game of baseball. Now, with the facing retirement, let me wish you the best of health and happiness and enjoy your time. I remember you when you were in the National League with the New York Baseball Giants, and I followed your career all the way through. You've been a professional, a real, true professional. God love you for the rest of your life.
Mr. Harwell, as dedicated to New York Yankees, I just want to congratulate you on your retirement. As someone who grew up listening to you, you will be greatly missed.
Ernie, I can't tell you how much I'm going to miss you. I go back, like 200 people anymore left in baseball, to the old New York Giants, when Ernie Harwell used to be in the booth. But what I'm going to miss most of all is the Famer, and just talk about life. You're such a wonderful human being. There's plenty more gas left in the tank, my man, and I hope you make a visit from time to time. We're going to
Ernie, when life was out for the last time at Night City, you said, farewell, old girl. In the same spirit of love and gratitude, Miller and I join 1,000 thanks in saying to you, farewell, old friend. May you, in your brother enjoy good health and lots of happiness in your retirement years. God bless you.
I can only share one story that comes to my mind in a minute, that Ernie Harwell always captures his audience. It's easy to capture your audience listening to it on the radio, but at the Lansing downtown banquet where we celebrate kids from 7 years old to 16 championships, imagine 300 kids in an auditorium having total peace when Ernie Harwell talks at the podium. That demands respect. He's always given respect, and he's treated the game with honor. I truly am going to miss Ernie Harwell, but I'll never forget what he's meant for the game, what he's meant for the Detroit Tigers, and what he's meant to me as a person, and how he stood the test of time. Ernie, wish you all the best. May our paths cross again, and thank you for all the memories.
Thanks to previous broadcasting as we fill up and you've got some things to do, but I'm sure that things are going to go well. I just want to wish you the best of luck and God bless you.
I know you're retiring from the broadcast group, but we all know this is just a semi-retirement. Hope the best for you and Lulu in the coming years. There's one thing that seems quite often, you're the best. But in your case, Ernie, you simply are the best. We're going to miss you, all of baseball, all kinds of fans are going to miss you. Ernie, best of luck.
Mr. Harwell, I'm so glad to congratulate you on 55 years of service to baseball.
Hi, Ernie, and greetings from Kansas City. You know, when I was a young guy growing up in Central Illinois, I had the pleasure during the summer of twisting the radio dial around and listening to Ernie Harwell on Tigers baseball on WJR Detroit. Then, when I became a big league broadcaster at age 24, I had the pleasure of meeting you personally, and I will always remember the kindness and the encouragement that you conveyed to a young broadcaster. Then in 1982, what a thrill. I had the pleasure of broadcasting CBS Radio, the American League Championship Series. Well, that was great, and what a tremendous series we had to broadcast the Angels and the Brewers. In the subsequent years, I've had the pleasure of seeing you every spring, every summer in the broadcast booth. And now, on behalf of the billions of people who've had the pleasure of listening to Ernie Harwell for all the years, let me just say thank you and all the best to one of the best, and I'll see you at the ballpark.
let me see, Ernie.
I'll tell you how much you and the Lulu mean to both of us, and we wish you all the best. And I'll always miss hearing you read your old pocket Bible when I was studying in spring training and in baseball.
We welcome the voice of Tiger Baseball over this meeting system here at American Park once more, Mr. Dan Gilbert.
Thank you, Frank, and I'm glad to be direct your attention in the right field corner. As we ask you to rise and welcome today's guest of honor. He is the father and husband of 61 years. He is an author, a songwriter, and a former Marine. He is a member of the National Sportscaster Hall of Fame, the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame, and has been named Michigan Sportscaster of the Year 17 times. This 2002 season marks his 55th in Major League Baseball, and he is the only man in history to broadcast games in 7 decades. Having spent 42 seasons as the voice of your Detroit Tigers, he is a true gentleman and a true friend. And today we salute him. Ladies and gentlemen, Tigers Hall of Famer, Ernie Harwell. Frank Beckman.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You know, I've been involved in a lot of great moments in sports, but I can't remember one that has carried more responsibility or a greater thrill for me than to be standing in front of you today to help honor a man who has set a new standard for all of us in sports broadcasting. A man who has set a bar so high, a bar to which we all aspire to reach, but which none of us, quite frankly, are capable of reaching, and that, of course, is Ernie Harwell. And Ernie, on behalf of all of us who have ever shared a microphone with you, we thank you for all that. Before we begin today, Ernie asked all of you to join in welcoming Ernie's wife of 61 years who has shared him with us, Miss Lula Harwell. In addition, along with other guests who will be introduced later today, we have two former Tiger greats on the field with us this afternoon, each having played on the Tigers World Championship team. From the 1935 Tigers World Series champions, from the Detroit City Council as well, a great leader in sports in our community, now 97 years young, Billy Rogel. The big wheel, Lance Perry. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Michigan and Ticketmaster are the co-sponsors of Ernie Harwell Day at American Park. We are very pleased that they have chosen to join us in this celebration today. I'd like to welcome from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, Mr. Richard Cole. Richard? And from Ticketmaster, Allison Motika. Following the All-Star break this year, the Tigers set out two areas where this ballpark, where all of you fans were able to write a short message to Ernie, wishing him well on his upcoming retirement and congratulating him on his marvelous career. As you can imagine, the response was overwhelming. If you look back behind us in the outfield, what a sight this is. 4 large banners being displayed. These banners being held by employees from both Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan and Ticketmaster in just over 30 games. Listen to this number. The Tigers collected an amazing 40,000 written messages from fans. What a tribute to Ernie Harwell. I'm running your neighbors going to love you for this, but this ceremony is over. You get to take them home and put them up in the backyard. It'll be a marvelous tribute. Just another way the fans will tell you you are never going to be forgotten here in Detroit for all you've done for us these past 42 years. Also, following the All-Star break this year, the Tigers began airing video tributes to Ernie on the scoreboard at the end of the 7th inning. And all of you remember because one of the highlights of this year is that standing ovation Ernie has received at the end of the 7th in every home inning of American Park. These tributes have been sent in throughout baseball, throughout the entertainment world. You see the likes of Bob Costas and Vince Scully and Joe Torre up there mentioned from the Hall of Fame. They were just a few of the 50 tributes that have been aired here at American Park. The people were honored just to take part in this tribute to Ernie. And there's going to be a special remembrance for Ernie in all this too. Because right now, a very special place in baseball history is going to be played out in front of you. Ernie is still the only broadcaster in any sport to be involved in a trade. Late in 1948, the Brooklyn Dodgers needed an announcer, and they called up the Atlanta Crackers, for whom Ernie worked at the time, and Atlanta needed a pitcher. And so Branch Rickey, up in Brooklyn, made a deal for Ernie Harwell and sent to Atlanta a catcher by the name of Cliff Dapper. Perhaps you've heard to visit Detroit Hall and watch the introduction of Cliff Dapper and Ernie Harwell meeting for the first time today. Ernie's career has spanned over 7 decades and thousands of games, and at this time we'd like to direct your attention to the big scoreboard out in left field, and with us take a look back at Ernie's life and his illustrious career in broadcasting.
Oh, the winter is past, the rain is over gone, the flowers appear on the earth, the time of the singing of birds is come, and the voice of the turtle is heard in our land.
William Ernest Harwell was born on January 25th, 1918 in Washington, Georgia. As with many young boys, Ernie idolized
that lady videotape the string. She let you do it.
baseball. Ernie's radio career began in 1940 as a nightly sports commentator on Atlanta's WSB Radio. The same year he met Miss Lulu Tankersley. After a 1.5-year courtship, Ernie and Lulu were married on August 30th, 1941. After serving 4 years with the United States Marine Corps during World War II, Ernie returned to Atlanta and began to broadcast games of the Southern Association Atlantic Crackers Baseball Club. At the microphone for Bobby Thompson's historic playoff homer in 1951. Ernie moved on to play-by-play duties for the Giants and the Orioles before coming to Detroit in 1960.
Well, it doesn't make too much difference whether you're for them or against them. I think that everybody realizes the strengths and the weaknesses of the Detroit ball club.
On his ride of destiny towards baseball's ultimate shrine, Ernie has always been there. From Ty Cobb on down, he has shared the stage with many legends of this great game. He has been a grand host for every Tigers fan, taking us along game by game on his journey to Cooperstown. With his unmistakable style and that golden voice, the narrator of drama and disappointment, he has always been there. His main stage for nearly 40 years was historic Tiger Stadium, and one of the main characters in the story, Al Caden.
Well, what about the presidential? I guess this will be the first for you, Al.
Yes, first for me, and of course I'm very excited about that, to get a chance to see President Kennedy and all his cohorts over there.
He was there in 1968, that magical season. Down 3 games to 1, but destined to achieve. The 68 Tigers came to life in the series and over the airwaves through Ernie's draw. And when the Tigers returned to their championship glory in 1984, Ernie was our co-pilot.
McGregor kicks in the youth. Here's a fly ball left. Maybe it's deep. Going back to Einstein. It's
Entering the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1989 by unanimous vote, he is the Detroit Tigers for generations of fans. Summer after summer, he has always been there. He was there on that final day in September, the final game at historic Tiger Stadium.
Farewell, old friend. Tiger Stadium. We will remember.
He was there on opening day 2000 as the Tigers moved their home from Michigan and Trumbull to Woodward Avenue. He was master of ceremonies for the first ever game at Comerica Park. For the last 4 decades he has been there. Our friend, our guide, our voice. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute, in his 42nd and final season with the Detroit Tigers, Hall of Famer, Ernie Harwell.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a number of people visit to Ernie today, and it's my pleasure to introduce each and every one of them. This former Tigers broadcaster was Ernie Harwell's partner in the radio booth for 19 years, from 1973 to 91. What a fantastic team they were, perfectly complementing one another. They presented the games in the classic style of baseball. Another special treat for all of us today is that this man is going to head up to the radio booth to WXYT and again tune up with Ernie this afternoon. It's great to see him here today, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Michigan Sports Hall of Famer. We always call him the man with the voice of God, Mr. Paul Carey.
Thank you, Frank. It was just about 11 years ago that Ernie and I stood on a different baseball field, not too far from here, and we said goodbyes. At that time, it was my choice. It wasn't Ernie's. But now it's his choice. That's the way it should be, the way it should have been. Fortunately, Ernie has given you 10 more years. I first met Ernie when he came in from Baltimore to become a Tiger announcer in 1960, joining George Kell in the booth. But those Georgian tones of his are just as good today as they were in 1960. I really got to know Ernie really well. In the 19 years that we spent elbow to elbow in various radio booths around the country. And I can tell you that he is an amazing man. Ernie would never say that about himself, but he's a man who has all the qualities you would want in a man, and more. And he has some unique qualities. One of them is incredible memory, his way with names, or down the field before the game. He could hear a story down here a couple of hours before game time, and then in the 7th or 8th inning, repeat it word for word. But perhaps his most wondrous quality is that he can make everybody feel at ease in his company. Everybody is comfortable when you're with Ernie. Over the years, there have been some players who said, I'm not speaking to the media. They talk to Ernie. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Ernie wanted to do it. He wanted to go out to that statue of Ty Cobb out there in left center field, stand there for a couple of minutes, and Ty would start giving Ernie some batting tips. This is not a sad occasion, this is a happy occasion. Happy because Bill and Ray, Carol and Julie are going to see their dad that much more. Happy because of all those grandchildren and great-grandchildren that are going to be able to spend time with Ernie. Happy because Miss Lulu is going to have her man Ernie with her most of the time. And happy too because Ernie and Lulu are going to be able to do some things in the spring, summer, and fall that Ernie has not been able to do for 60 years. Ernie, I cherish the years we spent together. I treasure our friendship. And on behalf of Tiger fans, and my wife Nancy, I don't think they mind my signature. I love you.
Thank you, Paul. Our next guest is a longtime friend of Ernie's, dating back to his days with the Atlanta Crackers. This gentleman is a career United States Marine officer who flew missions during the Korean War with a Hall of Famer by the name of Chet Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ernie's close friend, United States Marine Corps General Larry Taylor.
Our guest of honor and I have a few things in common.
hanging around constantly on Park, actually from the same neighborhood I'm around. But maybe the most important thing that we have in common is that we both, when we were very young men, raised our right hands and swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, some of us have been wearing this uniform for a very long time, and we know that this oath is not just something that you do for a while when you're a young man. Because even if you should take the uniform off in that special group that he and I both belong to, you're expected to live up to certain core values and principles: honor, courage, commitment, a lifetime dedication of being a good citizen, a role model to our fellow citizens. Wanted to correct one minor little discrepancy that you may have heard in the very first introduction when Ernie was coming around in the convertible. He was referred to as a former Marine. Our guest of honor has not worn this uniform for 56 years, but I can assure you that all of us who still wear the uniform, he was then, he is now, and he always will be Sergeant William Ernest Harwell, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Thank you, General. Our next speaker, born in Detroit, was instrumental in the development of our great Comerica Park. He guided its construction while the president of the Tigers from 1995 through 2001. He's here today representing the Major League Baseball Commissioner's Office, where he currently serves as the Executive Vice President of Administration. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome home John McHale Jr.
Thank you. It is wonderful to be here today on behalf of the Commissioner of Baseball, that this celebration is so appropriately scheduled by the Tigers on the first day of the new week following our week of national remembrance and rededication. That our game has played some modest role in the aftermath of those terrible days of just over a year ago, and has served as a point of gathering and healing last week, is possible only because of its place in our lives, a place won for it by people like Ernie Harwell. We have the privilege of reminding ourselves to treasure today's game and each future opportunity to share Major League Baseball with this good, great, and humble man. We need to understand today and each day left in 2002 season that we are given a rare gift: to see through his eyes and to know the game through his wisdom, familiar idiom, and calm and reassuring voice. Many of us here today love baseball because we learned it by watching Al Kaline play. His seemingly effortless brilliance masked countless hours of preparation and practice. Just so, many of us here and millions others also love this game because we and they learned it by listening to Ernie Harwell explain it so comfortably, so seemingly effortlessly, so simply that it takes a listener's conscious effort to realize what preparation and practice underlie the dialogue he creates in our minds. Let us understand, appreciate, and be joyous for our time with him. Likewise, let us understand, appreciate, and be joyous that our love for this game owes so much to what he has taught us. We must also, of course, reflect today on his 55-year career in Major League Baseball and his place in its history. He began when the game was played by 16 teams, the total annual attendance of about 21 million fans. He leaves when the game is played by 30 teams, who draw nearly 70 million people annually. He began at a time when televised baseball was an occasional novelty. He leaves at a time when over-the-air and cable broadcasts of Major League Baseball reach hundreds of millions of fans. And the game has just begun live streaming video through machines that were only science fiction in 1948. He began at a time when radio broadcasts of Major League Baseball were becoming a regular feature of life in the United States, at work, at play, and even for big games, at school. He leaves at a time when they are simply second nature to baseball fans, the single largest factor in the growth of interest in baseball in the 20th century. Much of this growth, much of the national habit of listening and watching Major League Baseball has occurred because of the voices and personalities of the people who call the action, and no one has ever done it better than Ernie Harwell. He reminds us that his craft, really his art, has been a part of our culture longer even than there were actually houses by the side of the road. He is part of a cultural tradition that extends backward in time to Virgil, not Ozzy or Trucks, but Publius Virgilius Maro, author of the Aeneid, who gave us a play-by-play of the funeral games played during a 7-year road trip by the cellar-dwelling Trojans on their way to Italy to lay the foundations of the Roman Empire and Western civilization. Those who have spoken and sung and then written of the glories of athletic competition have entertained us, created our heroes, and shaped our values since the origins of our culture. For 55 years in our game and 42 years in Detroit, Ernie Harwell has been our gentle guide, our Virgil, and we have been comforted, amused, and educated by the mind and the voice of greatness. Thanks, Ernie. God bless you, and God bless Mrs. Harwell.
John McHale. Our next speaker is a lifelong fan of baseball and of the Detroit Tigers. He is the co-founder of the Mayo Smith Society, that organization of loyal Tiger fans, and his love of the game of baseball has now taken him to a level where he oversees baseball's highest shrine. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to Comerica Park the president of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, native Detroiter Dale Petrosky.
Thank you, Frank. It's a great honor to be here today, and I thank Dave Dombrowski and Mr. Illich for letting me and the Baseball Hall of Fame participate in such a special tribute day to Ernie Harwell. I'll be brief, but I'd like to share my thoughts from two different perspectives. First, as a lifelong Tigers fan who first heard the voice of Ernie Harwell at the age of 5 years old, and secondly, as the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. First, as a fan, my brothers and I were the guys who had the transistor radios underneath the pillow, earplugs in our ears, so that when Mom and Dad came in to see if we were sleeping, they couldn't tell that we were listening to the Tigers from the West Coast, and Ernie Harwell was the one giving us the lullaby and putting us to sleep. I know that I am one of thousands of you who share that life experience. Since 1960, owners have come and gone, players have come and gone, stadium has changed. The one thing that's constant in 42 years of Detroit Tigers baseball is Ernie Harwell. Now, from the perspective of baseball history, since the 1920s, baseball has helped radio thrive, and radio has helped baseball thrive. It's been a great marriage. And a handful, Red Barber, Mel Allen, Vin Scully, Jack Buck, Harry Carey, Ernie Harwell, have become icons of the teams that they represent. They're more recognizable than most of the stars, and Ernie certainly has been that here in Detroit. But of all of those icons, Barber, Allen, Scully, Buck, Carey, Ernie is the most talented, the most thoughtful, and the most well-rounded. And I think that had something to do with his being the first active baseball broadcaster to enter the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown in 1981. I'd like to talk about his talents for just a second. Published songwriter and poet, founder of the Baseball Chapel, so that ball players of different faiths could come together at the ballpark on the weekends and worship if they chose. A baseball historian, pretty good collector himself, a Marine. He honors the past and respects history, but he lives in the moment. He's had a love affair with the intelligent and charming Lulu for more than 60 years. And no one I know has more friends. That's because he stays in touch from wherever he is. Ernie Harwell has taught us how to live and how to give. The entire baseball world, from San Diego to Seattle, from Montreal to Miami, from Cooperstown to Detroit, salutes you, Ernie, and thanks you for one of the greatest careers in the history of this glorious game, baseball.
Thank you, Dale. Our final formal speaker today has defined the spirit of the Tigers for the last half-century. He is one of only 3 ball players to play at least 20 seasons wearing the old English D. He entered baseball's Hall of Fame in 1980. He hit 308 times in his career. He collected 3,007 hits overall, and he was baseball's youngest batting champion in 1955. After his career, he was the Tigers' popular television analyst, I'm proud to say, my partner on UPN 50. He now serves as the Tigers' special assistant to the president next to whom he sits, Dave Dombrowski, and he is celebrating his 50th year with the ball club. He is Mr. Tiger, number 6, Al Taylor.
What a great thrill and honor for me to be here on the field to help honor the greatest broadcaster in the history of baseball, Ernie Harwell. For the last 50 years, I've been honored to be part of the Detroit Tiger organization. During those 50 years, I was fortunate enough to have met so many wonderful people. And I have to tell you that the privilege of knowing Ernie Harwell remains one of the highlights of my career. The game of baseball produces a lot of characters. None of them, however, has the character that lives inside the heart of Ernie Harwell. To all of us, he is more than just a professional. He is a true friend. I remember Ernie coming to Detroit when I was a young player. I remember how proud he was when we won the World Series in 1968. I remember how he supported me when I left the field and moved to the broadcast booth. And throughout all those years and all those changes, the best thing about Ernie is that he's always stays the same. Ernie is as kind to the rookie player as he is to the most cherished Hall of Famer. He treats the little boy sitting in the bleachers with the same dignity, and as he shows the presidents of the world's largest corporations. The reason is simple. That's just the way Ernie is. So today, let's forget about the long list of honors Ernie has earned. Let's forget about all those thousands of games he's called. Let's simply think about the kind of man he has been to our community. Let's all be proud that we can say it's so great that Ernie belongs to us. Ernie, you may be leaving the broadcast booth, but you'll never leave our hearts. On behalf of all the players who have ever worn the Tiger uniform, on behalf of all the fans you have touched with your words and your spirit, and on behalf of me, I thank you so much for simply being Ernie. God bless you and Miss Lulu.
Al, thank you. Ernie, please don't sit down. Would you join me up here for a moment, please? We have a number of special presentations, as you well might expect. The first one from the Detroit City Council. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Detroit Councilwoman Sheila Cockrell.
Good afternoon. Mr. Harwell, on behalf of the Detroit City Council, I bring you our highest honor, a testimonial resolution that will be codified in the Journal of the City of Detroit for posterity. I will only read part of it because it goes on for a while, but it says some very important things. Whereas the Hall of Fame voice of the Detroit Tigers baseball is retiring from a magnificent career with Major League Baseball. And whereas the 2002 season marks Ernie's 55th season in Major League and his 42nd season calling Tiger baseball. Ernie Harwell has marked 7 decades as a broadcaster, making him the only broadcaster to do so. And whereas to fans, Ernie Harwell is a baseball icon. His unmistakable voice and fast-paced play-by-play have made him a cornerstone in Tiger baseball. Fans will forever remember the famous third strike call of his. He stood there by the house on the side of the road and resolved, now therefore be it resolved, that the Detroit City Council hereby congratulates Ernie Harwell on his retirement. We thank you for your many years of service as the voice of Detroit Tigers and wish you a long, healthy retirement with your family. And be it finally resolved the Detroit City Council offers you this famous Irish blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Congratulations.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cockrell. Ernie, we also have a letter from Governor John Engler. I'll read a good portion of it to you. It says, Dear Mr. Harwell, as Governor of the state of Michigan, it gives me great pleasure to send congratulations to you on Ernie Harwell Day. I want you to know that your fans throughout the state of Michigan, across the nation and around the world, hold you in the highest regard. On behalf of the citizens of our Great Lakes state, I salute you, Ernie Harwell, the voice of the Tigers, and I wish you and your wife Lula many enjoyable days in the sun and in the park. Sincerely, John Engler, Governor. Next, Ernie, we're going to call on your current radio broadcast partner, another great ex-Tiger, a member of the '68 championship team, Jim Price, to head up to the podium. Ernie, Jim has an envelope for you, and inside you're going to find that the Tigers don't want you in retirement to stand by the side of the road. They have a special gift for you, Jim.
Ernie, I'm so proud to have been your broadcast partner all these many years. You know I love you, and God bless you.
And the Tigers gift, ladies and gentlemen, inside the envelope, they're going to send Ernie and Miss Lula on an all-expense-paid vacation to the Grand Cayman Islands. Next, we call on another of your old buddies in the broadcast booth, your radio partner from 1967 to 72, who yesterday at a special gift got to spend some time in the radio booth with you on WXYT again, and that's Ray Lay. Behind us, Ernie, Ray is unveiling a very special gift. It is a framed Tigers jersey with the name Harwell and the number 42, signifying Ernie your 42 years with the Tigers. But wait, there's more. Next, we invite another great ex-Tiger, Special Assistant to President Dave Dombrowski and member of the '68 World Championship team. Remember the man who threw out Lou Brock at the plate? He comes to the podium with our next gift for Ernie. You and Lula, as Willie Horton makes his way up. Ladies and gentlemen, again, if I could direct your attention to the video board out in left field, we have a very special tribute from our two U.S. Senators in Washington, Carl Levin and Debbie Stabenow.
Hi, I'm Senator Carl Levin. I'm delighted to be joining the fans of Ernie Harwell today. Ernie Harwell is the